Imagine this. It's the middle of the night, deep in the mountains. The temperature has dropped to 30 degrees inside a small tent. 9 experienced hikers are asleep when suddenly something goes terribly wrong. Not outside, inside the tent. Because within seconds, they cut their way out from the inside and run into the freezing darkness. No boots, no jackets, some of them almost half naked. But here's what makes this even more disturbing. They didn't run. Their footprints show they walked away slowly, in a straight line, one behind the other, as if they weren't escaping, but being led. Days later, their bodies were found scattered across the snow, some frozen to death, some with crushed ribs and fractured skulls. But no external injuries. One had no eyes, another no tongue, and somehow, their clothes contained radiation. No clear struggle, no logical explanation, just one official conclusion, an unknown compelling force. This is the true story of the Dyatlov Pass incident, a mystery that, even after decades, still has no answer. The year was 1959. In the Soviet Union, a group of 10 young hikers set out on an ambitious and dangerous expedition into the remote Ural Mountains. These weren't ordinary adventurers. Each member of the group was highly trained, physically fit, and experienced in extreme winter conditions. Completing this journey would earn them the highest level of hiking certification available at the time. Leading them was Igor Dyatlov, a confident and skilled leader who had successfully completed similar expeditions before. The group began their journey on January 25th, traveling first by train, then by truck, and finally continuing on skis into the deep wilderness. At first, everything went according to plan. They joked, took photographs, and documented their journey in diaries. The mood was light, almost cheerful, like any group of young explorers chasing adventure. But just a few days into the expedition, something changed. One of the members, Yuri Yudin, began to suffer from severe joint pain and worsening health issues. Reluctantly, he made the difficult decision to turn back. It must have felt like failure in that moment, but in reality, it saved his life, because the remaining 9 hikers continued forward, completely unaware that they were walking toward one of the most mysterious deaths in modern history. Days passed as they moved deeper into the mountains. The weather became harsher, winds grew stronger, snowfall became heavier. On February 1st, the group reached the slope of a mountain known as Kholat Shakal. The name alone was unsettling. Mountain of the Dead, given by the indigenous Mansi people. Despite the dangerous weather conditions, Dyatlov made a critical decision. Instead of descending to a more sheltered forest area, they would set up camp right there on the exposed slope. It was a choice that would later be questioned again and again. That evening, the hikers followed their usual routine. They pitched their tent, prepared food, wrote in their diaries, and captured moments on camera. One of the final entries described the harsh conditions and how difficult it was to stay comfortable in such extreme cold. There was no sign of panic, no indication of danger. Everything seemed normal, and then silence. No more diary entries, no more photographs, no messages, just a frozen night hiding something unknown. When the group failed to return on the expected date, their families weren't immediately alarmed. Delays were common in such expeditions, but as days turned into weeks, concern turned into fear. Eventually, search teams were sent out. On February 26th, rescuers finally located the campsite. What they discovered would only deepen the mystery. The tent was still there, partially buried under snow. Inside, everything looked almost untouched. Clothes, boots, food. Was the condition of the tent itself. It had been cut open from the inside, not torn by wind, not damaged from outside. Someone inside the tent had taken a knife and sliced their way out, which meant one thing. Whatever scared them was already inside, or coming in fast. Outside the tent, investigators found footprints in the snow, some barefoot, some in socks, some wearing only one shoe. But what truly made no sense was this. The footprints were calm, measured, organized. They moved in a single file line, descending the slope toward the forest. No signs of running, no chaos, just a quiet, deliberate movement into the darkness, as if the group had made a collective decision under pressure. Following these tracks, search teams moved toward the forest. Under a tall cedar tree, they discovered the first two bodies. Both were barely clothed, lying near the remains of a small fire. Their skin showed signs of burns. The branches above were broken, suggesting someone had climbed the tree, possibly trying to spot something or escape something. Nearby, 3 more bodies were found. These hikers were positioned between the tree and the tent. It appeared they had attempted to return to their shelter, but collapsed before making it. Their cause of death was listed as hypothermia. At this stage, the incident was already strange, but what came next turned it into a complete mystery. Weeks later, after the snow began to melt, the remaining 4 bodies were discovered in a ravine. These victims were different. They were better dressed, some wearing clothing taken from the earlier victims, suggesting a desperate attempt to survive. But their injuries were horrifying. One had a crushed skull, another had multiple broken ribs, one was missing both eyes, and one victim, Lyudmila Dubanina, was missing her tongue. Medical experts concluded that the injuries were caused by an extremely powerful force, similar to what you might see in a high-speed car accident. But here's what made it truly impossible to explain. There were no external wounds consistent with such trauma, no deep cuts, no visible impact damage. It was as if something had applied massive pressure without physically striking them. And then came another disturbing discovery. Some of the clothing worn by the hikers tested positive for radiation. This raised serious questions, because at the time, the world was deep in the Cold War, a period defined by secret experiments, weapons testing, and extreme government secrecy. So what really happened that night? Over the decades, countless theories have tried to explain the Dyatlov Pass incident. Some believed the local Mansi tribe attacked the hikers, but this theory quickly fell apart. There were no signs of struggle, no foreign footprints, and no evidence of conflict. Others suggested an avalanche. It could explain why the hikers cut open their tent and fled in a hurry. But there were no signs of an avalanche at the site, and the injuries didn't match typical avalanche trauma. Some turned to the supernatural. Reports of glowing lights in the sky led to theories involving UFOs or unknown entities, but again, no solid evidence. Another explanation focused on hypothermia and psychological panic. Extreme cold can cause confusion, hallucinations, and even something known as paradoxical dressing. But this still doesn't explain the organized footprints or the extreme internal injuries. One of the most widely accepted theories today is that the hikers were caught in a secret military experiment. During the Cold War, remote regions like these were often used for testing weapons. Shockwaves from experimental explosions could explain the internal injuries. Radiation exposure would explain the contaminated clothing, and the sudden panic might explain why they fled their tent so urgently. Some reports even claimed that military footprints were found near the scene, though this was never officially confirmed. In the end, the case was quietly closed by Soviet authorities. The final report gave a vague and chilling conclusion. The hikers died due to an unknown compelling force. No further details, no clear explanation, and no real answers. Even today, decades later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unsolved, because whatever happened that night was powerful enough to force 9 experienced hikers to abandon safety, leave behind everything, and walk calmly into the freezing darkness. And maybe the most terrifying part is this: they never tried to run.